broadcasting live from unknown remote locations and not their parents' basements. It's B2B Tonight with Ryan O'Hara and John Mazza, featuring Dale Dupree, leader of the Sales Rebellion, and Nikki Ivey, marketing comms manager at M-Train and co-founder of the SDR Defenders. And now, everybody welcome our host, Ryan O'Hara.
Hi everyone, Ryan O'Hara here. No, today is not a March Madness update if you're watching this on LinkedIn. It's B2B Tonight. And you know what that means? John Mazza's here, embarrassing all of us. What's up, John Mazza?
Hey, I am here embarrassing all of us. And it may be April Fool's Day today too, but this show is actually real. It's not a joke. Even though we might seem like a joke to you, it's real, I swear.
For the next hour, you call it 45 minutes maybe, but it's going to be a no gimmick zone. So if you're coming in here looking for jokes and looking for anything that is going to play a prank on you, there are absolutely no pranks. This is super serious. Good day. Don't leave. Don't leave. I'm just kidding. We have a whole episode. So today we've got some really cool guests. We're going to be talking with Dale Dupree in a couple minutes. We're going to be talking with Nikki Ivey. It's going to get emotional. I don't know. I might start tearing up in the middle of our interviews, but one thing I want to talk about is some adversity I'm overcoming today, Mazza. I didn't take my allergy pills this morning. So if you hear me coughing into the mic and practicing bad Zoom etiquette, that's basically what's happening. What we're going to do for the show, though, is the first 10 minutes will be on LinkedIn Live. And then to trick you into becoming one of our leads, we're going to have you go to a link. You can go to b2btonight.com. It'll redirect you to a page and you can subscribe and you'll be able to watch the live feed for it. It'll come up on a page after you fill it out. We recommend you do it because we're trying to make content that's useful and valuable to you, give you some of the cutting edge cool stuff. And we're not cool, so we get cool kids to come on here and do this, right, Mazza?
Yeah, exactly. And we have two of the coolest for you. Nikki and Dale are both incredibly cool people. And Ryan, please, I just want you to keep your finger close to the mute button for when you do cough and sneeze so my eardrums don't pop.
Oh.
And everybody watching.
You would. You're such a diva. You can't deal with my coughing or my sneezing. All right. So to get rolling today and start, we thought we'd do something a little unique here. It's the beginning of the new quarter. So everyone here, for most companies, you're getting into Q2. You've got a lot of stuff to do. Mazza, what's been on your mind? What have you been thinking about?
Yeah, it's been just about 3 months since I started in the marketing role. And since I made the switch, I wanted to make an effort to keep my prospecting skills going strong. So I asked Ryan if we could actually do a cold call role play live in front of everybody here today. And Ryan's going to be playing the role of the prospect. I'll be the rep. So I kind of wanted to start things off more with a generic one. And Ryan, let's say you're going to be Tom at Acme Corp, VP of Sales, and maybe we can go from there. How's that sound?
All right, let's do it. So let me just get in character for a second.
Right.
I'm going to think about what Tom's going through right now.
Okay.
All right, I am ready to go. Let's do it.
All right. Ring, ring.
Hello?
Hey, is this Tom?
Yeah, this is Tom. Who's this?
Hey, Tom, it's John Mazza over at LeadIQ, and I'm an SDR hoping for a chance to explain how I got your number and the reason for my call. If you're willing to give me about 30 seconds to start, and we can see where it goes from there.
Yeah, can you give me 1 second?
Yeah, no problem. Of course.
All right, 1 second. Hey, Ma! Shut up! I'm on a call! Come on! Sorry about that, John. Go ahead. What's going on?
Okay. I was researching your team, and I noticed a lot of your reps are on LinkedIn Premium, which usually means they're doing a lot of outbound prospecting. And does this sound like your team over there?
Yeah, I mean, we definitely are trying to take advantage of optimizing our sales process and getting a lot better. But excuse me 1 second. I'm not going. I don't like Brad. He's a jerk. Fuck. All right, John, go ahead. I'm sorry. What were you asking?
Ryan, I'm struggling a little bit here. Am I trying to overcome your objection of you just acting like a crazy person?
No, like
Or
I think that when you're cold calling someone, you need to be ready for interruptions. You're interrupting them, and you need to be ready for chaos. I'm preparing you for the real world and what really happens in cold calling, Malza.
okay, all right then. I guess I can play with that. Can we start from scratch?
Yeah, yeah, do you want me to, am I Tom or am I someone else now?
Yeah, let's be somebody else.
Okay.
Not Tom. You come up with somebody else. How about Bill?
Okay,
Okay.
one second. I'm gonna think about what scenario I want to give you. Okay, let's go. Let's do it.
All right, cool. Ring, ring, ring.
Hello?
Hey, am I speaking with Bill?
Yeah, this is Bill. Who's this?
Hey, Bill. John Maz over at LeadIQ and SDR. Actually, giving you a cold call, and the reason I'm reaching out, I was hoping to borrow you for a quick 30 seconds if you had time. What do you say?
We got to be really quick, man. It's half off apps at Applebee's tonight, $4.99 for mozzarella sticks, and you know me, I got to get my mozzarella sticks, and I love me some Applebee's. So let's get through it. Go ahead.
All right. Yeah, I love Applebee's also, and especially those half price apps at after 9 o'clock. Maybe we can actually finish the call over at Applebee's over half price apps. What do you say?
I mean, that's a little presumptuous. I don't know if I'm ready. Let's hear what you got to say. What do you need?
That I gotta say, Ryan, that's not one I've ever heard before either. Applebee's half price apps. I'm actually a huge fan of the half price apps over at Applebee's. If they're full price though.
Let's continue this role play. Let's continue
Okay.
this role play for a second
Right.
and
Yeah.
see how it goes. Let's see how you can deal with this.
All right. Awesome. Half price apps. The reason I'm reaching out, I was on your team's LinkedIn page. Noticed a lot of reps are on LinkedIn Premium, which usually means they're doing a good amount of outbound prospecting and research. Does this sound like your team?
Yeah, I mean, I think when I think of what I'm trying to describe my team as, in a lot of ways, they're like the crispy Santa Fe chicken wrap that Applebee's offers for $8.99 on Thursdays only. And honestly, I just think that that's what my team acts and thinks about when they're prospecting. So if you're looking at LinkedIn Sales Navigator, or you're looking at what we use for LinkedIn Premium and using that as a qualifier, let me tell you something. We're just like that crispy wrap.
Wow, that crispy wrap sure does sound like a great value, and kind of what.
Speaking of great value here, hold on a second. Let's talk about great value. If you're looking for a place right now, I know you're cold calling me, but why are you cold calling me when you could be at Applebee's? Yeah, you're going to get a commission check, but you could be saving money by getting half off apps on Thursday nights.
Wait, did I miss something? Is Applebee's one of our sponsors for today's show or something?
No, I'm just preparing you for what happens when you cold call people. But everyone, you know what I hate? I hate when companies do mock calls and they make them layups. You know what I mean? You need to be ready. What happens if you call a buyer in your ICP and they're obsessed with Applebee's?
This is true. No two sales calls are alike, I guess. But I mean, I got to say, this is far from most of the sales calls I've ever had.
Yeah. All right, let's try. You want to try another mock call?
Yeah, maybe we can do one more. Maybe we can do
I'll
one more.
I'll give you one more. I'll give you one more. Let's see what happens here.
All right, cool. You're just going to be Ryan this time,
okay.
right?
Okay. All right. Just let me know when you're breaking, because I won't know who Ryan is if we're breaking. I'm me. Okay. Here we go.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Ring, ring, ring.
Hello?
Hey, may I speak with Ryan, please?
Yeah. So this is really, really awkward, but you actually caught me. I'm driving through tunnel, and it's really, the reception is, and so I don't, who, you there?
Hey, Ryan. Did I? It sounds like I caught you at a bad time.
No, I'm actually outside mowing my lawn, and 1 second, I just got to turn off the sprinkler. Oh man, I ran out of breath there, but the sprinkler's off. We're good.
Were you just making sprinkler sounds with your mouth? That wasn't a real sprinkler, was it? I mean, you could tell me. You could just tell me.
I'm not gonna lie. You're gonna be cold calling people. That's gonna happen. Like sometimes they're gonna be working on their lawn. It's springtime. I mean, I know me. I'm working cleaning up my lawn. I just ripped out a bush last week. Got rid of some of that bittersweet weeds that are really toxic for your yard. And you got to be ready for that, John. If you're going to be cold calling people, you need to be armed and ready.
So the objection is you actually doing real yard work, not you pretending to do yard work.
I mean, I wasn't going to go out and do yard work for the mock call. I'm not going to do work. I'm like, do you think I'm going to do that peasant work?
All right, Ryan. I've been trying to help people get better at doing their cold calling, and you're here just pushing out all these terrible objections that are never going to happen.
You know what, Mazza? Listen, that's fine. I'm great. I'm doing fine. Let's just get to the guest today.
Okay.
I feel like you weren't equipped for the real world. For people that are watching, we're going to shut off at 10 minutes and switch over to the B2B Tonight website. So you go to b2btonight.com, fill out that subscribe button. There'll be a live feed that you can join in and watch. If you want to ask our guests some questions, that's the place to do it. While we're getting ready, let's say hi to everyone's, not everyone's, but some people's favorite sales trainer. What an intro. Let's all say hi to Dale Dupree, leader of the Sales Rebellion. What's up, Dale?
That was a joke, right? Like,
I mean, there are people. You have fans, right? You have fans.
I think so.
So
I'm your fan, Dale.
Yeah,
what's up, Mazza?
Get out of here, Mazza. Get out of here. So Dale, a lot of people might not know you that have heard, we work with a lot of trainers and do stuff with people. What makes you different? What's the Dale Dupree story?
Well, my first question is for all the audience watching to hold you accountable to this is like, why haven't you like offered me anything that you've offered all these other trainers to work with you? You know, like I just want to put that out there just for everybody to hear, since you clearly know other people better than you know me. But I will differentiate myself real quick and say that I'm bold and I'm willing to say shit that sometimes hurts feelings, and because it brings and bonds people together further. So if you don't mind, Ryan, can we get a hug?
You know what? We can do it. The camera's gonna go out of focus, but I'll give a hug a little bit. But let's digress for a second. I think one thing that I want to note that I think is really unique about you is when I've known you for a couple of years now, since you I met you at Flip My Funnel many years ago. I actually think that's where I met Nikki too. But I was gonna say, one of the things I think people don't talk about enough with you is how hands-on you are. You're literally a coach for people, right? Like you dress up in a Tinkerbell dress and sit on someone's shoulder and tell them what to do and stuff, right?
This is correct. Yes. Was that a Disney jab? Yeah, that was low, dude. That was super low. So yeah, so we work with companies, but it's my calling as an individual to be something more than just running a brand, running a company that helps specifically organizations, but to fill a gap. And where we saw the gap was where sales reps need training more so than just the company and just the teams, and that an individual contributor can't afford to spend thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars a year to have sales training. And although we're not necessarily super cheap sales trainers that fit that mold, that we have designed programs that allow individual contributors to come in and learn, alongside bigger organizations that have the funds to do that and get the same quality of training that those people are getting. And there's no crap in that. Like we're not loading that up and saying like, yeah, you will, and then trying to upsell and upsell and upsell. We have a strict package that we offer students that come in that are individual contributors, and in the name of getting them to a better place inside of their sales walk, and then their walk in general in life, because we believe that better people will make better salespeople.
So let me ask you something. What are some mistakes you see reps coming in? Let's say I'm a noob and I come in. Actually, let's make Mazza the noob. Mazza comes in. He's like, Papa, teach me how to do sales. And they work with you. What do you do? Like, where do you start?
Especially when you have a manager like Ryan who does mock calls like he just did.
Oh my gosh, I equipped you. I'm setting you up for the real world, dude.
You know what's really fun about the mock calls that Ryan just did, though, is that any of my reps from the past life that are watching that I was a VP over are probably laughing, going, why is Ryan Dale? Like, literally, because I literally used to go through I would get up out of my chair in the middle of a mock call with somebody and like slam the door and they'd be like, what are you doing? And I'd stay in character the whole time and take them down rabbit holes, because I would say this, that what we do in sales training is that we typically build this like fairy tale land of where sales lives. And we say like, hey, this is what sales is. All you got to do is say these things and set appointments and close the deal, or hand it off to your AE to do that for you. And really, that's not the case. The case is that as humans, we're on this earth not to sit around from 8 to 5 and work. That's not our calling. That's not what we're meant to do. And because of that, there's purpose-driven, influence inside of the sales rebellion. And what we're teaching people is to, from a sales perspective, is to tap into what drives others as well too. And so even in the rebellion, when it comes to like our curriculum and things we teach, we're not sitting here like rigidly saying these are the steps you have to take or you're doomed and you'll never make a sale. We tap into and meet people where they are and then help them to see some very proven methods that really don't come from a sales background. They just work in sales around communication, around emotions, around the ideology of what experiences provide for people more so than a pitch or negotiations or anything along those lines. So we just transcend this box that sales trainers and gurus have created over the last several decades. And we're trying to get rid of it entirely and stomp that thing into the ground.
What are some of those themes? Like, what are some things that so someone's listening right now, pretend that they signed up, I guess, because we're giving people access to Dale and his mind. But like, you don't have to spoil everything. But like, what do you tell someone? Like, what are some things that you're like, I'm a rep right now, I'm not hitting quota, I'm gonna go nudge my boss and be like, yo, can we get Dale to come in? What would you do first? Like, so you're customizing stuff and looking at them, but like, what are some things that you see a lot of reps make mistakes on?
Yeah, so, well, the first thing we do is we send out these little packets of Kool-Aid that say the sales rebellion on them, and like we make you chug it, before you start with us. So just kidding, obviously. So, but where we do start, let's go into like where we do start, because it's easy to give a talk track to a leader and to find out all their pains and problems. But what we want to understand is what's good right now, and this is actually what we teach people as well too. Like, what's good about your environment? What do you love about your environment? And we take people to more of a positive place, and from there we are able to then get deeper into what they want further around that positivity, right? So we get them in this place where they're fired up and they're like, yeah, I wish we could have more days like that, and then we help them to see that we can help them build that culture. Now it all comes down to activities, right? And the procedures that we take and the workflow that we put a rep through in order to become better. But one of the first things we take reps through that nobody expects is a course that we call Roots. They're your rebel roots when you come into our program, and we really make you tap into some pretty deep-seated thoughts. We encourage people to do things like journal. We've had students that have started journaling around not just their sales walk and the things that they desire to achieve, but just their life in general, and seeing massive transformations in people just from these very small things where they'll write down, like, I have call reluctance because of X. Instead of just saying, I have call reluctance, they'll tell themselves the truth. And by reading that, they'll go, wow, I have trauma. I have something that harmed me at some point in my life that I can't get over that's causing this. And maybe it was in sales, maybe it was well before it. So Roots is really this ideology of what a lot of people skip over. A lot of people go right to this identity of like, what's your 30-second commercial? What's your product? And the value that it provides. What are people looking for? What we need to understand is ourselves more so than anything else before we start. Because if we don't know thyself, we cannot know thy buyer. So we take people to this foundational course that allows them to look really deep into their own walk and what their sales walk will bring to them. And this is what creates long game employees for employers, where you're not just helping someone to have a better talk track, you're helping someone to feel more in tune with their own existence and why they're at your company in the first place, which exceeds expectations moving forward. Especially because once we get a lot of those things out of the way, we build mission statements, we dive into this idea of servant leadership more so than sales. We ask people to do things that are uncomfortable and to get out of their comfort zone, because we believe that the only way to really beat the status quo when we're going up against it from a sales perspective is to do it internally for ourselves first and foremost.
So it's almost like your therapists first and then sales trainers second at the same time too.
That's a good way to put it, bro, for sure.
That's amazing. I've never heard anything like that. So that's actually like a pretty incredible way to start your training process.
Great.
So we obviously push people here at LeadIQ. One of the things I always tell people, and you probably know this, Dale, it's one of the reasons we get along so well. We're always telling people, I think one of the biggest things that sucks in sales is like people go work at these companies and the companies basically beat them with a phone book and be like, no, don't show personality. No, don't be yourself. No, stay like on the script. Don't go off script. Stay on this stuff. I think one of the things that no one talks about is like the prospector is you are your differentiator. if someone's going to buy me or another product or another person, the thing that's going to make me stand out, all these companies have the same product and feature. I just actually read something last night. I was reading about this guy. He was a founder of a project management software thing called Flow. And he tweeted out and talked about, I should know his name, it's Andrew something, but he basically talked about how he launched Flow, had superior design, but then the former CTO of Facebook launched a company called Asana, which everybody knows Asana today. Asana is like a very popular project management thing. And he was talking about how like they were really confident about beating Asana because they're like, we have a better product, we're bootstrapped, we've got media personalities, and like we've got a marketing plan, we've got a 2-year head start on them. They're never going to catch up. And his post was basically talking about how they failed and they never broke 3 million annual revenue. Well, Asana is publicly traded now and is like a unicorn worth billions of dollars. The comparison is that if you think you're going to a sale and the reason you're going to win is because of your product, it's not enough. In fact, the best way to approach someone is to put yourself into the prospecting and be yourself. And that's kind of what you're saying here, right, Dale?
Yeah, totally. And like a really good example of that for the rebellion that we believe, like we want to be careful about being, we like a certain amount of arrogance. We call it healthy arrogance for salespeople and then for ourselves as well. We want to believe in what we're doing and what it is that we're putting out there, but we also want to hold ourselves accountable to those in those measures as well too. So like one of the things that we've done is that we've created a very low cost app that we've literally built and developed ourselves that has gamification tied into it that will cost a rep less than a Patreon. Which is a joke because it's like a penny less, so it's like $9.99 instead of $10. But unless you're on John Selig's, his is like $3, and it's the best freaking thing. By the way, the comedy is gold. Anyway, so we built this world, and the idea though was that who are we building it for? Because if you the one thing that you have to understand is that as we build our brands and as we create something that we desire, we also can't put ourselves into this little box of us, where people will look at it and be like, well, that's cool, Dale, but like, I don't know really where I fit into that. And so instead of naming the company, the Dale Dupree Sales Training Company, we named it the Sales Rebellion to create, and no knock on anybody that has named their company after themselves, you know, when it comes, because I used to help folks that were helping or that were in insurance, that were like the Capel Howden Insurance Organization. I'm like, that's good, because again, it's like you said earlier, people are going to buy your brand. But what we want to brand is a community at large. And so if we can brand a community at large, but then use the things that make me unique and use the things that make my business partner, Jeff Villegas, unique, then we're on a whole nother level because we're influencing based on the things that we're an expert in and that we love aesthetically, you know, through workflows, through training, through whatever that is, but also allowing ourselves to be open-minded enough to tap into rebels all across the world. And that's what I truly believe, you know, brings that synergy of success. And so when you go into our app, you see stuff that's very familiar that we weren't necessarily like super comfortable creating because it didn't do exactly what we wanted. But we went out and we said, what do people use? What are they familiar with? What are they comfortable with? And how can we put our spin on it more so than anything else?
Excellent. On that note, I also want to make sure everybody here watching knows that I just opened up chat. Chat is open if you have any questions for Dale. Nikki's going to be coming on in just a couple minutes. So if you have any questions now, please put it in there. And yeah, just wanted to let everybody know that.
So Dale, let's do a little fun game if you want. Do you want to circle back to the mock call exercise we did earlier?
Fun game.
Yeah.
So how would you have handled those? How would you handle each thing? Let's pretend you were on a call with someone and they were yelling at their mom. And what would you do on a cold call?
Well, when the person came back, like if I was in character, like as the cold caller, I would have said like, are you always that mean to your mom? What did she do to you?
Yeah. You're just like mothers, right? It turns into like a therapy session.
Moms, can you believe that? How are you 42 like me and live with your mom as well? That's cool. But I think that creating like really the serious answer is creating familiarity in that moment. So like something's happening and it's an interruption, but how can you make the person feel that like you can handle it in the first place? Because a lot of times people call me, listen, this is a nutty thought too, but people call me and they say, hi, is this Mr. Dale or something along those lines? And I'll say, is this a cold call? Like I'll respond that way and literally they'll hang up because they don't know what to do because they're in a script, they're in a mindset. and it's very transactional in those moments. But if somebody is saying to me, right, if somebody is saying to me, is this a cold call? I'd be like, well, it depends. What time is it? Oh yeah, it's 2:00. This is absolutely a cold call. Do you have a minute? I would be playing with that. I would be having a lot of fun with it, and I would be going all the way to the fences with it, right? Because we so little do we take risks, right? So often do we choose complacency and choose to kind of stay in this place that feels comfortable, right? And that's the problem, is like we have to step out of our comfort zone. We have to get into this ideology for ourselves of what does true success look like? Well, it looks like us pulling someone else out of their own comfort zone too, because if they don't risk, if they're not in discomfort, then they can't find the next level either.
Yeah.
That was probably me early on in my sales career, hanging up on you. I was definitely that guy that would hang up if I ever got an objection that early on that I couldn't overcome. But like, as you move on, which we should let everybody know, you got to be comfortable with it. You got to just play along with it. Yes, this is a cold call. Of course, this is a cold call.
Yeah, and like I like this one, Mazza. Like I like this whole thought of when somebody says like, "Is this a cold call?" I like saying, "Well, of course it is, because we don't know each other." But I would love for this to be more of a warm call. I'd love to understand your business. I would love to know more about what drives you, how I can impact your walk in general. And it doesn't have to be my product. Maybe I know some people that you've been trying to meet. Maybe there's some synergy here outside of just selling you some shit over the phone right now. So do you have a couple minutes? I can share the reason for why I'm even dialing, and we can figure out whether or not something's there. And if there's not, it's okay. You can hang up on me. You can tell me I'm dumb. You can make fun and put me on speaker like Wolf of Wall Street and make fun of me with all your friends in the office. Like, doesn't matter to me. Like, I'm down for whatever. Let's party.
You basically, in a lot of ways, Dale, you know what it's almost like? You're beating the objection of them making fun of you. You're beating the objection of them and the thing I think that a lot of people, I remember when I was a cold caller and we'd get trained and we'd do call blitzes and stuff. My manager, Josh Delisle, shout out if you're watching this, Josh, what's up? Used to tell us like, don't take it personally. Like if someone's rude or mean to you or something. Like, I think a lot of people just forget to get themselves in other people's shoes and like think about like, maybe the person you're calling is just having a bad day. Like maybe some other rep has given them a bad experience and it's trained them to think that way. And your job is to try and change their mind about sales. And if we all kind of think of it that way, there's like kind of a noble quality to what we're doing as sales reps.
Yeah, I agree with that. So, and one of the things, because I'm big on business as personal, but I love how you lay that out, Ryan, because the thought is that if we lead with expectations and we lead with assumptions, then we can't serve the other person to the fullest extent that we should be. So we can't take it personally because they didn't know us. Like they have zero idea what's happening with us or who we are, just the same. And so we have to put ourselves into that. We have to put ourselves into our own shoes in that moment instead of stepping out of them and being like, I'm offended by this, right? Because we have the opportunity to change lives in sales. And I mean that. When my father passed away, a lot of people that know my story know that my dad is the reason I'm in sales and came out of the music industry in the first place. When he died in 2016, and I got up to give the eulogy, and I looked out for the first time, looked out into this room and saw over 1,000 people in a room that held 900 people standing up against the walls, backed out the back. It was one of the most insane visuals that I ever got in my life. And I recognized in that moment that these people aren't here because my dad was a copier salesman. These people are here because my dad was somebody that truly cared about his walk and your walk on this earth and how to make it something that was worth our while. And because of that mindset, he didn't take things like no for an answer. He accepted it at that time of like, okay, you're in this place and I'm going to meet you there. But he never gave up on those types of things. It's including me. If he'd have given up on me, I wouldn't even be here today, right? So there's a lot more to it that I think we as sales reps kind of just disconnect from, that we need to reconnect ourselves to.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. Well, Dale, you've talked enough. You make me sick. We're going to keep you on, obviously, and you're going to hang around and stuff. But I want to get our second guest into here and see what comments she has, because she's been listening, and I'm sure she has opinions on some of these things too. Everybody say hi to Nikki Ivey. What's up, Nikki? Make sure you unmute, by the way, if you haven't unmuted.
Oh, no.
Yeah, what an entrance. People don't know, but that was great. What's up, Nikki?
Nothing much, man. I'm just sitting here enjoying the conversation. It's compelling stuff.
Yeah. So one of the things that you were mentioning in what we call the green room, which is really just like rotting away on a Skype while we talk, but one of the things that you mentioned is you wrote something about agreeing with Dale on the cold call stuff. I mean, you're someone that I think one of the things I'm interested in a lot with your story is like, for people that don't know, first off, we should probably let people know what you do, and you can talk about that for a second. What do you do? Tell people what you do.
Well, this is actually kind of breaking news. I am recently a sales expatriate. I know. Hold your rotten
Nikki.
fruit to the end, guys. No, I got a promotion to marketing communications manager at M-Train. M-Train is a continuous learning platform that helps people build healthy cultures instead of just being like, oh, we had that one DE&I person come in 6 months ago. Guess we're good. So it's fun work. It's stressful work. But at the end of the day, it's I feel like I'm living out my purpose. And I know that can sound corny to people, but like, and Dale knows this about me, like sometimes I'll try and pull back when I'm getting excited about something because I don't want it to be received as like, who is this goofy girl? But fuck it. I feel like I'm really out here trying to change the world every day with the job that I do. And I think that when it comes to choosing a sales role, that's really important. I didn't understand how important that was in the beginning of my career. I thought there's this like bravado, shout out to Sahil, but like an actual bravado where you have to project like I can sell anything, right? Like I'm a huge Jay-Z fan, right? I'm a hustler, baby. I sell water too. So the thing is, if you get too high on that and you stop paying attention to, does this company sell a product into a group of people that I have the capacity to genuinely care about? What other than the paycheck? What other than, I'm feeling myself? It's going to get me out of bed. It's going to get me to make those calls over and over and over again. And the answer for me has been, making sure ahead of time that when I vet companies, I'm vetting them for that. Or is this something that I can feel purposeful doing? And I think particularly with the SDR role, I'll say this and then I'll mute myself or be quiet for a second. But I think particularly with the SDR role, in the worst cultures I've seen or been a part of, leaders just aren't encouraging folks to think about their work as purposeful because so much of it has become, what can we automate? What can we assembly line?
I thought it was cool that I get to work for a company that kind of lets me be myself and be creative and all that stuff. But you, like you said before, you literally are helping change the world, and every post that you make and all the, everybody that, comments and likes and all the shares that you get on your posts. It's pretty incredible that you get to do that. And congrats. If we had an applause button on the recent promotion at the same time too.
It's something that actually my mom tried to talk me out of for a very long time. Every time I was about to start a job, she'd be like, don't be going in there telling them people all your business. And I can't stop telling them people about, anybody who's followed my LinkedIn page knows I'll be telling all my business. But I think that, people have different love languages. I'm giving what helps me. When I feel believed in, I am my most successful. When I am inspired by a leader, I am my most successful. And so I'm really just out here trying to give that to people.
So I want to ask Dale something to loop him back in on this. Dale, like I think it's really perfect that you said this, Nikki, because I've heard Dale talk about this before. You talk about selling with a purpose. Dale, like you talk about this too when you tell your story as the copier warrior. Like you talk about your purpose when you were selling. Like what was when you were out in the trenches not doing the sales trainer thing, like you felt like you had a better purpose too, right?
Yeah, well, so I'll get super preachy here. Not just kidding. It really is my faith though that really drove me to have a purpose on a day-to-day basis inside of what I was doing in sales. And furthermore, it was like looking at my father's legacy and just seeing like the things that he had accomplished were absolutely amazing. And the way that he was doing it, I recognized what I needed to be super focused on and where my purpose and intentions needed to go toward in order to be able to carry on that legacy. Not necessarily piggyback it or live with it by any means, but because at the time, you know, my thought was I want to be my own man. That was what I always said. But at the same time, recognizing that like what people have done before us is extremely important, especially when it's heritage. But even inside a community, because there are a lot of people in my community, my mentors and people that I look up to in general, that like Nikki's one of those people that drives me to be better inside of the sales rebellion. Even she truly is, because she has a purpose, she has a calling, she's living it on a daily basis, and it's something that we align with. And so instead of saying, yeah, we align with Nikki, we put a little brick in the wall and say like she's 100% part of what drives and is building this entire movement in the first place. And when we can attach ourselves to those types of things instead of just talking about it but living it alongside of other people, then it really takes us to that next level.
So building off that a little bit too, I think we should maybe talk about this. You're listening as a rep. How do you find your purpose, Nikki? How did you figure out what you wanted to do? Is it accidental, or did you like investigate and sit there? Because like you want to sell with a purpose. In fact, that's a new book we're all going to write together, Selling with Purpose.
I'm sure it's already been written.
Stupid Amazon.
Nobody cares. B2B, like people will keep writing the same books over and over again because, you know, on the one hand, right, there's enough out here for us to all eat. So there can be several books called Selling with Purpose. But how did I find my purpose? I think failure has been very instructive to me over my career. It has been difficult for me to, I figured everything out now. Difficult for me to look at, you know, because it hurts so bad, right? When you have this opportunity that you're so excited about and then it doesn't work out the way that you wanted it to. It took some time for me to be able to see that as instructive, first of all. Also, I'll be more specific. I took a job where I was selling into construction subcontractors. So literally people out there roofing. I have a
subcontractor voice that I do with my friend Matt Muniz, who works in construction. I talk like this. What's up?
No, seriously. I was calling people. They were on their roofs. They didn't care. And the more I was myself, the more they seemed maybe not off put by it, but I think it just wasn't a match. It wasn't a match. But when you're in a sales career surrounded by other salespeople for whom it is a match, or, you know, for whom it seems to be irrelevant whether or not it's a match, and you start to comparing yourself, you either conclude you suck at sales and you should just leave, or, you know, that there has to be, like, I know I'm good at this. What are the variables? Mm-hmm. And in some cases, the variable is the product. In some cases, the variable is the culture or the base, the buyer base that you sell into. So yeah, so I failed at trying to sell the construction workers. And once I recovered from that failure, that's when I was able to go back and find the lessons. And so in addition to that lesson, right, which is that part has to be a fit. And then of course, obvious things like culture and leadership. Besides that, it really was, and this was something that Dan Gottlieb said to me right after I lost my job due to COVID the beginning of last year. He was like, stop thinking about the title. Stop even thinking about the outcome, and like be able to answer the question, what do I want to be doing with my day? Like specifically, what do I want to be doing with my day? Don't think about, well, I don't want to be making cold calls for my day, because that's not the point, right? The point is, do I want to be talking to people, starting conversations, or do I want to be helping people understand a solution Or do I want to be helping people, understand how to use the solution once they're onboarded? Like, it's totally okay to pick any one of those things. It doesn't have to, like, we don't have to all be sharks. We don't have to all be our favorite LinkedIn sales guru. We don't. And I think once I figured that stuff out, then everything else was just like, okay, I'm a winner, I'm gonna lose, but I'm gonna be me.
So building off that a little bit, I'll give you an example for me. I think that I botched a little bit when I was thinking about this. So when I got out of school, I worked as a BDR at Dine. Maz has probably heard me talk about Dine way too much, right? You probably hate me.
Not as much as in the past, so it's good now. We're good. We're in the clear.
Do you talk about Dine as much as he talks about Applebee's?
Oh my God. I don't even like Applebee's, by the way. Like, every time I go to Applebee's, if Applebee's thinks we're plugging them, we're not. Don't go to Applebee's.
Unless it's half price apps.
Get out of here, Mazza. Get out of here.
And $1 margaritas.
So what I was going to say, though, is, like, I remember, I'll give you an example for me from an existential standpoint. I remember when I worked at Dine, they did such a good job of inspiring me that, like, a company in New Hampshire could be like the backbone of the internet. And, like, everyone's in Silicon Valley or Seattle and all these different places, but, like, let's make a company that actually matters in New Hampshire, which is, like, where I'm from and stuff. And I love that. And I just got behind it and I built all this stuff. And to be honest with you, I kind of had some depression a couple years ago when Oracle bought Dine, because they ripped a lot of the stuff apart. They integrated in the Oracle Cloud. They took down our YouTube page full of videos, assets, content, prospecting things. All the stuff that I felt like I had worked on just got absorbed by Oracle with the acquisition. And it made me kind of feel like, why am I here? What's my purpose? And, like, for a while, that was my purpose. And I'm not putting down Oracle. Oracle's amazing. Like, they do they've helped so many people in their jobs and stuff. But, like, I remember when that happened, I was just thinking, crap, what's my legacy? And I realized that, like, your legacy doesn't necessarily have to be tied to the company you work for. Your legacy can be tied to the philosophies and beliefs that you have individually. I see. What do you think of that, Nikki?
Yeah, no, that's exactly the corner I had to turn. Right now, I can't take all the credit because, being out of a job and having 4 children can kind of put a light of fire under you, right?
Yeah.
To really start to pay attention to stuff like that. And once I decided, like, it's really not about, like, not about a title thing is one thing. To take the step further and say all of these, software companies that we're all familiar with, because if we're sellers, because they're the tools we use every day, and those become the coveted jobs, right? Because the brands are so big and they look good on a resume. And so I kind of had these companies that I had put up on a pedestal. If I could just go there and win there and make an impact there, that's going to prove something. It's going to make my career.
Yeah.
But when I didn't have that even as an option, that's when I was like, is that even my purpose? So in addition to what do I want to do all day professionally, personally, I want to be surrounded by community. I want to be impactful to as many people in the community as I possibly can. And that's when I started to just do it. Just like, see what happens if I start to confess my failures and, invite people to do that as well. Talk about things that aren't so wrapped up in, did you hit quota or not? Did you make your 100 cold calls or not? Like, stuff like that really helped me turn the corner. And it's like what you're talking about, right? It's purpose, not just in your job, but like in your life. It's really simple, right? Really fucking simple. Forgive yourself for your failures, take the lessons, and then go confidently, betting on yourself, all the chips on the fucking table. After that.
Yeah, so like one thing I was thinking about too is like, Dale, I remember you told this story at like the Sales Success Summit about like your dad would like go see someone and he had these personal relationships with people And like your dad's legacy was really wrapped around like the book of business. And it wasn't book of business money. It was book of business of this Rolodex of relationships that he made in his life. And I think that's like, I'll give you a perfectly good example of this. Everything that we work on right now, if you're watching this and you work in SaaS or you work in any different company, the company you're working at might not be here in 10 years. Like there's got to be something else to your work. But these moments with relationships and how you sell and what you're doing and how you're impacting that person and being part of that story is really cool. And like, that's what I love about some of the stuff that you've talked about, Dale, on some of your talks too.
Yeah, I can connect with that on a deep level. I love everything Nikki's saying. I'm just over here like, preach, girl, preach. And Nikki and I, some people know this, but Nikki and I got to meet in person, and I think this is like the whole part of what we're even talking about is like Nikki and I got to connect in person. And when you can, if you think you like Nikki, Ivey, like through LinkedIn, then meet up with her in person. And that's the thing that we disconnect from in our generation. And in 2020, we got a nasty dose of that a lot of people have adapted to. They're just like, oh, it's cool. I can just kind of like run relationships through the internet now. Like, no, it's not, that will never be a thing that trumps what it looks like to have a physical relationship with somebody in the flesh. Because we sat down, ate awesome pizza. She ate spicy pizza too, which she doesn't do. She was like, all right, I'll give it a shot. And like, she down that pizza, like she's a pizza girl for sure. And
Telling all
really,
my business.
Yeah, I'm just giving it up. But really earned my respect in the way that like we got extremely deep in the conversation and like our faith and the things that connect us, even though we're very different people at the same time too. So, it was one of those moments where like when you're sitting here and you're talking about people and we're talking about purpose and we're talking about what is it, how do you find yours? Well, you don't find it sitting around dwelling on all the negativity. You don't find it sitting around thinking, oh, maybe today someone will message me with an opportunity and I'll be able to start building this business that I've got this big idea around, creating an enterprise in. And you do it through action. You do it through risk. Like my dad would put himself in those uncomfortable positions. He'd walk into places that he knew he wasn't welcome in some instances as well too, because he wasn't afraid of those moments. He wasn't afraid of what, what man might think, right? Because in his mind, there's only one person that really mattered in regards to judgment, and he was not that person. And so for him, it was also about loving people and meeting them where they are. And if you're struggling to find your purpose, you have to think, like Nikki was saying, you have to go beyond the 8 to 5. You have to say, what are the things that drive me? And this is the one hack that humans don't understand is experiences. If you want to go find yourself, go put yourself into very substantially moving and differentiating experiences. So now I'm not saying like go skydive, but I am saying if you're afraid of heights, go put yourself in a position where you have to face that fear. If you're afraid of having tough conversations with people, go to an AA group and sit around in there. And even if you're not an alcoholic or you don't struggle with addiction or drugs, go into that group and listen to the conversations that happen. And maybe even try to say a few things yourself as well too. Like these are practices that are simple. If you have call reluctance, go take an improvisational class, literally. And they'll make you so uncomfortable in that place in that moment, but it'll totally sharpen you. And it helps you when you leave, you're not just better at something, you know more about yourself. You go, damn, this whole time that's been in me. This whole time I've had the ability to be able to make these choices, and that will help you to find that purpose a lot better and more efficiently as well.
I have to say this, Dale. So you just told the story of us meeting, and then you talked about, experiences and getting out of your comfort zone. And those things kind of go hand in hand, right? So I was in Orlando for this sales conference. I had never actually been to an in-person sales conference, but I was networking because I was looking for a job. And I had on LinkedIn, I just put up a post that was like, hey, because it was when we were not allowed to hug by that point. And I was like, wanna bump elbows with me in Orlando? And Dale responded. Like he was the last person I thought. I'm thinking he's gonna be too busy, blah, blah, blah. But he responded and was super kind to me. But at the conference, one of the things that made me apprehensive about going is that when I looked at who was on the speakers list, and even connected with some of the attendees, it was very clear that I'd be the only Black woman at this convention. And so I had a choice to make. I was like, am I going to go and possibly be subjected to microaggressions, or even worse, just be made to feel invisible? And is that emotional tax worth showing up, worth being in the room where it happens, right?
Yeah.
And so I went, mostly because Dale said that he was gonna meet me, and so that's what got me out to Orlando. And then I learned things. I met people who, I might not have otherwise met. And yeah, it's a little uncomfortable being, the only anything, but these days the only Black woman in a room. But the question that it came down to is, what happens if I'm not in the room? If I'm not in the room, then there are no Black women in the room. So it's the real simple math for me, right? Do I want there to be no Black women, or do I want there to be at least one? And that experience, and the way I talked about it on LinkedIn, the way folks responded and really supported me, is one of the things that got me into building SDR Defenders and this whole idea of democratizing access to the sales profession, and then creating a through line of that where we support and sponsor people's careers on up and through their own till they reach their own goals.
Yeah, that makes sense. It actually reminds me of, I'll give you an example of something that was similar. Lori Richardson invited me to go to a woman in sales event that was happening only a couple towns over from where I live, because she's up in New Hampshire. And I remember being reluctant about going, because I was like, crap, am I going to be like the only guy there? Is it going to be weird? Like, I'm not trying to compare it, obviously, because it's completely different. But I went and I learned so much about things that are out there that I see as normal, but are actually like really sexist, or really, like, I learned things like, for example, job postings. Shout out to Lori, by the way. But like, example would be like, most sales job postings are written to attract men, not women. Yeah. And like, I immediately started looking at our job postings and be like, oh my God, we're doing this.
What have I done?
We're scum. Like, that's
they'd be like, why are there are no women? And then the job rec's like, killer, crusher. Did you play football?
Yeah, those are the things, like, we're looking for someone that's hungry. Yum, yum, yum. It's like, we didn't do that.
Headhunters that want to eat your lunch.
We want people to hustle.
If I read that, I'm like, I'm gonna let y'all have that. And
yeah, like apparently, you know what else is another problem too that you bring up that I learned from that was, like, apparently there's some psychological stuff where you have to remember that if you make qualification, you know how you have, like, in job postings, qualifications, if you make qualifications too exclusive, women are actually more likely psychologically, for some reason, to disqualify themselves and not apply. And it sucks because, like, I'm not trying to, like, weigh in on the battle of the genders or anything, but, like, there's a lot of, like, you're missing out on a whole plethora of talent if you do things a certain way because you look at what other companies do.
And I think the reason why that happens, if I can just say, like, for myself, when I've done that, and I've certainly done it, looked at it and been like, and LinkedIn kind of tells you, right, in their job search thing, like, oh, you fit X amount of the criteria for this job. The reason why I haven't applied unless I felt like I met all the criteria is because I felt like I was going to be held to a higher standard. And maybe if I'm not me, if I'm you, Ryan, and I go in and I don't, maybe I meet 6 of the 10 requirements, the likelihood that someone would associate you not meeting those requirements with your skin color versus, or your gender versus just, he just, he'll be fine. They'll see the potential because you remind them of themselves. You remind them of, and when I say themselves, I mean, the numbers are pretty clear, right? It's white dudes who are making the hiring decisions by and large in B2B sales. But if you remind them of themselves.
Sweater vest, by the way. White dudes in
oh, you got to have the Patagonia pullover. Because if you don't got that, are you even in B2B tech?
Yeah. Sorry, I just want to make that joke.
Do you even go here? But yeah, that's really what I think is happening. And so overcoming that means, again, just thinking about what will happen if none of us even apply. We don't get any closer. So I'm so glad you went to Lori's thing for that same reason. Because how might those women have felt, right? Because I've seen where we're holding events. This happened with, I believe, an AAISP event for women in sales, and we advertise it broadly, but we still don't get. There's 2 or 3 guys that show up when a lot of the things that we're saying would be relevant and helpful. Like you said, they were helpful to you, Ryan.
Yeah. I just learned some stuff, and I think it's part of this too. But I like that we talk about purpose today on a lot of this, because I think it's something that even Simon Sinek does that whole why start with why idea, and it's totally true. Like if you're really wired and I'll give you an example at LeadIQ. If you talk to Jeremy Levier, who puts a lot of our content out and is always sharing best practices and stuff, Jeremy legitimately, he believes he's gonna die. You're gonna die if you don't buy LeadIQ. He thinks it's oxygen. But he's not it's not Jeremy exaggerating or being ridiculous. He literally thinks that and feels that way because he knows that we can help reps, and he knows that LeadIQ is a good soapbox for him to get out there in sales. And I'll give you another example that's super corny and mainstream. I remember I watched Hamilton this summer on Disney Plus, and it kind of fucked me up. I was like, shit, I need to aim for the stars here. I started thinking about this existential stuff. Think of William Shakespeare, right? Everybody can have kids and that can be part of your legacy, but no one cares about Glenn Shakespeare III. Everybody still talks about William Shakespeare years later. And that's the ambition and legacy that you think about, what kind of legacy am I going to have as an individual and as a professional? And does it stem and almost transcend the company and title that I have right now?
Amazing. You know what?
Yeah.
I think we're coming up at the end here, and I want to make sure everybody gets to say their last goodbyes and everything. Dale, thank you so much for coming on. Do you have anything to tell our audience?
Man, I'm just excited to be here having conversations like this that are meaningful and impactful. I appreciate the opportunity to be able to come and speak. It's always great seeing my girl, Nikki. Love you. Love all y'all. Appreciate you very much.
Thank you so much for coming, Dale.
I'm really hurt that I'm not his girl, but thank you, Dale, for being on. We appreciate it. I thought I was going to be, but Nikki, what do you want to tell people? Tell the people what you want. This is your chance.
Well,
You're
first of all,
LeadIQ.
First off, this is a Tupac reference. But no, this has been really, really fun. I think, like you've called out, Ryan, these things can get super stale, right? And they can get down to people just rehashing the same tips and tactics that we hear and see every day. So it's just been really refreshing to be here. And you guys have been complimenting me so much. I've been blushing. Black girls do that. You just have to trust me because you can't really see it. But that's how much fun I've had today.
That's amazing. I was just taking a look at our job posting. I think we're going to have to take off the "Do you even lift?" as the top requirement. I'm going to have to talk to Tyler about that one.
I think it works if it's funny, but I'm only one girl, so.
Thank you for being on, Nikki. On our end, couple takeaways for people listening. We accidentally stumbled into career advice. If you're making job postings and stuff, make sure you think about not just one gender or one type of person that's like you applying. Think of other types of people that might be reading that, have some empathy, wear their shoes. Be yourself when you prospect and sell. That was a big point from Dale. And I think it's a really important thing to emphasize. Figure out yourself. And if you want to be happy and do better in your career, like Nikki or like other people, you really, really need to figure out your purpose and use that as your driver. Maybe it's personal, maybe it's stuff that you want to do from a legacy standpoint, but think of that from a zoomed out perspective. We didn't talk about LeadIQ at all, but I just want to plug this for a second. If you're looking to try and do more high value activities and stop doing annoying busy work stuff, you should totally check this out. You can go to our website, LeadIQ.com, hit that get started button, and you'll probably get an email from one of us and be like, oh man, why did I do this? This sucks. But it's pretty cool. We help a lot of people. Who's on our next show, Maza?
Oh wow. We have next show we have
Wow, you're stalling really well.
Yeah, I am stalling. I'm not doing this great.
April 22nd, we have Steve
It's
Richard.
like the prospect asks for price or something.
Yeah, April 22nd we have Steve Richard and you go.
I believe we have Patrick Campbell on from ProfitWell, which I'm really excited about. If you guys don't know Patrick, he knows a lot of crazy stuff about retainment, keeping customers, decreasing churn. He knows all kinds of cool stuff about pricing. It's going to be badass. And Steve Richard doesn't need an intro. I literally am I'm just a crappy straight to DVD version of Steve Richard. So the guy's badass. He's done cold calls on stage. He's just a really cool guy. We're going to talk to him about some new things with cold calling, especially if you're calling mobiles and stuff. So stay tuned for that April 22nd. If you're subscribed, you will get alerted about it the day we go live. So you don't have to do anything. You just leave here and get out of this madness. Nikki, thank you very much for being on. Thank you to Dale Dupree. Go check out the Sales Rebellion. Maza, thanks for being my cold call guinea pig. I hope those scenarios were helpful.
They weren't.
I'm going to go have a good cry. I'll see you guys later.
All right, same here.